What I'm really trying to say is we need to talk about these polls because any preseason poll, week 1, week 2, basically anything before November is essentially worthless in terms of polling. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master Football back at it again. Happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be up to date on everything college football, pro football, Madden, EA college football, NFL draft, anything related to American football, hit that red subscribe button. You will not be disappointed. Also hit the like button too, and follow on Twitter/X. That fam is growing. Without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, guys. So here we are on Wednesday. A couple of days passed here, and again, I was gone. I went to the Boise State UW game. UW looks real good. Boise State looked good at first, and then did not look good towards the end there. UW, again, they are a dark horse for the national championship at this point. However, I want to talk about the college football rankings system right now. Again, we've got a couple of them we have to break through down because I believe there are some severe overreactions that we saw from the previous action this weekend. Some include what happened between Colorado and TCU. We also want to make our way over to Durham, North Carolina to talk about what happens between Clemson and Duke because I think there's a huge overreaction there. What I'm really trying to say is we need to talk about these polls because any preseason poll, week 1, week 2, basically anything before November is essentially worthless in terms of polling. Let's get into that right now. So here we are on ESPN.com and going over the rankings. And again, we've already got our week 1 action done. Now we're into week 2. So we see how this goes. We see Georgia, obviously 1-0, it cruised Michigan, Alabama, and so on. The one that is surprising that I really appreciate, Ohio State dropped down 2 spots, not because they, lost, but because they didn't look as good as you wanted them to. Kyle McCord at quarterback playing against Indiana. Florida State beats LSU in a neutral site game. Looks pretty dang good. Moves up 4 spots. I really like that there. We got USC, Penn State, Washington, Tennessee, and Notre Dame rounding out the top 10. Now, there's a couple big droppers. The first big dropper here was LSU losing to Florida State neutral site game. I had them as my dark horse to win the SEC. Now, again, it looks like they're having some trouble down there because they have some clear holes compared to Florida State. Florida State might just be that good of a team. North Carolina went up 4 spots after a big win against South Carolina. And then we've got a couple down here. I'm going to put these in the overreaction territory. The first one I want to talk about here is Clemson and Duke. Duke is now ranked. They weren't before. And Clemson drops 16 spots all the way down to 25. They were at the number 9 spot right there. And then we see Colorado at 22. They were previously not ranked. And then TCU is now 26, 27, 28, 29th. Let's go into those 2 games because first we need to talk about Colorado and TCU. Why? I think everyone is overacting just a little bit here. So we come over here and check this game. And again, a lot of people watch this game as big noon kickoff just because, it was an absolutely awesome day. For ESPN, they had their, college game day at South Carolina versus North Carolina. Colorado versus TCU was the big noon kickoff game, and I was watching. It was absolutely insane. Everybody was checking at the Boise State and the UW game. People were checking in on scores. It was such a crazy game. Shadur Sanders looks like he's the man. 5'10", 10 yards of completion, 4 touchdowns, no picks. And I tell you what, it was absolutely shocking to see this game. Now, TCU could score basically at will. Same thing with Colorado, though, too. You need to be fair about that. But, again, looking at this game here, 45-42, extremely close game, back and forth. Any team could have won. They ultimately decided to say that Colorado is above TCU. I think that's fair, but I don't think it's fair that TCU just automatically gets deserved to be dropped out of the top 25 because that's what happened in the rankings. Like I said, now they're right there at 26, 27, 28, 29, so they're 29th. 2 teams that had a back and forth game. Anybody could have won. One's 22nd, the other was 29. I think TCU didn't deserve that much of a drop. Again, they were all the way up here at 17. They dropped all the way down to 29, so 12 spots. It's in line. 9 drop spots for loss for LSU, 16 spots for Clemson. So it's within that range. But again, I think TCU is still a solid team. I think they're probably going to end up minimum 7-5, 8-4, something like that. They'll still be ranked at the end of the year. I think this TCU ranking right here, a bit of an overreaction. I like Colorado at 22. I don't mind that. I think that actually might be an overreaction too, because again, we don't really know what TCU is, and we don't really know how Colorado is once they play, a slower team, once they play a couple of those Pac-12 teams. They have a brutal schedule in the Pac-12, but we'll see what's going on there. The next is this one, and when I saw this game, and you look at this headline right here, this is the big problem with the AP poll and the college and the coaches poll is they don't watch the games. They don't watch 126 games or 65 games. They look at the final score and they see what happened. So they look at this thing here. Oh, they won by 4 touchdowns. Clearly, Clemson has lost it. However, when you check into this game, it is very, very clear that there was just a certain amount of miscues committed by Clemson that put them in this spot. So you see, come down here and check out the stats. Okay, so first downs, they had almost double the amount of first downs here. Better on third down, not as good on fourth down. They had more total yards, more passing yards. They also had more picks. They had more rushing yards. They had less penalties. They played better than them in every area except for 2 turnovers, and they had 2 fumbles inside the red zone, and they had 2 field goals missed inside the red zone. So with both of those, that's potentially, 6 points, and then we're assuming they score touchdowns on those. That's 20 extra points they would have flipped there. Again, it's not exactly exact math you would do there, but I'm basically saying here, this game was a lot closer than people give them credit for. When you look at the box score, you can clearly see that. When you look at the final score, it doesn't present that way. And even Dabo Sweeney over here was basically saying this loss was almost indescribable. And what do you mean by that? You come down here and check out what he said. That's the weirdest game I've ever been a part of. I've been beat. I've had my butt kicked, but that's the strangest game I've ever been a part of. And again, he talked about that. He had 12 more first downs, 48 more first yards, and both threw and rushed for more than 200 yards. He said they had correlated to it 101 and 108 in an all-time record for the Tigers before Monday night, and then they lost the game because, again, they turned the ball over 3 times, 2 missed field goals. They had 2 fumbles by the offense following the first and goal at the 1, 2 field goals blocked. It's just shocking that the game turned out that way. So again, 7-28 was the final score, but if we're being honest here, it's a lot closer than that. I think that everybody's overreacted with dropping Clemson, who is clearly a talented team, 16 spots. It's a little bit of an overreaction. And how do we know that we need to not take these seriously? Because even the CFP knows we need to take this seriously. So the AP poll, everybody's like, oh, we got the preseason poll. Who's ranked up, whatever the situation is there. Then you've got the coaches poll, and they kind of go through that, and they do that too. But the CFP knows, okay, we need to see a couple games before we actually get these scores going or get this going here. So what they do is they wait until October 31st, following week 9 of the regular season. So everybody's got about 8 games in. You can kind of tell what's going on there. You don't need to release a whole bunch of them. I know it's important for the game to get, get excitement. Ooh, the preseason number 1, preseason number 6, whatever it is. But even the CFP knows, like, don't take any of this preseason stuff early. We will not know until it is almost November. So Clemson dropped 16 spots since losing to Duke. However, when you looked at the box score, it was very, very clear that in many areas other than the red zone possessions, it was very clear that Duke was outplayed by Clemson. But they were very, very brutal on them in the AP poll. Same thing with TCU. TCU in a back-and-forth game against Colorado, they went from 17 to 29th. That's a little bit of an overreaction here. Again, could those both be legit down the stretch? I totally believe that. But I think, again, just like the CFP poll, these polls should not be taken seriously up until week 8, 9, 10, 11, something like that. However, people are taking them seriously, which unfortunately is something that grinds my gears in college football. All right, guys, you get in the comments right now. Which overreaction do you think in terms of rankings do you want to talk about? I personally, like I said, the Clemson, Duke won. It was shocking, although Duke won 9 games last year, but it's not much of an overreaction. And then TCU versus Colorado was a little bit of an overreaction too. I think those teams should be ranked close to each other. I know that they are 22 and 29, but I think that even closer than that. Also, I think that we might be overreacting in Colorado because we don't really know what we just saw there. But again, overreactions, that's what we do. Here we are early in the college football season. Things are going, man. Let's go. But anyways, you guys get in the comments and let me know what you guys think. But that's it for me, guys. I'll see you guys later. I am out.